This is the Cholo News Report for Friday 11 October 2019. Heavy fighting between the Turkish land forces and the Syrian Democratic Forces along the Syro-Turkey border reportedly leaves hundreds dead. The International Rescue Committee says 64,000 people in northern Syria have fled since the Turkish offensive began, leaving the border towns of Ras Al-Ain and Al-Darbasiyah largely deserted. The offensive against the Syrian Democratic Forces led by Kurdish YPG militia, which began days after Trump pulled U.S. troops out of the way, and following a phone call with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, opens one of the biggest new fronts in years in an year-old civil war that has drawn in global powers. In an apparent retaliation by Kurdish forces, 6 people, including a 9-month-old baby, were killed by mortar and rocket fire into Turkish border towns, officials in southeastern Turkey said. According to a senior Turkish security official, the armed forces struck weapons and ammunition depots, gun and sniper positions, tunnels and military bases. The White House confirms that Ibrahim al-Aziri, chief bomb maker for terrorist group Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, was killed in an American counter-terrorism operation in Yemen in 2017. The announcement also comes as Mr. Trump faces intense criticism from national security experts, many of them Republicans, over his failure to prevent Turkey from invading northeastern Syria to attack Syrian Kurdish fighters. Anti-government protesters parade captured police officers in the Ecuadorian capital Quito, which is de facto under the control of protesters and the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador. The officers were not harmed, though they were forced to address a large crowd, calling on President Lenin Moreno to step down, which was broadcast live by several private broadcasters after being ordered to do so by indigenous leaders. 8 uniformed officers were brought onto a stage and forced to address a crowd of thousands of activists who have occupied the Casad Cultural Theater in the capital Quito. The officers looked scared but were not physically harmed as they were asked to remove their helmets, bulletproof vests and boots. Vargas complained that media coverage of the protests had ignored police brutality, before calling local television crews on stage and ordering that they broadcast live. An Islamic State radical attacked multiple people including Indonesia's Security Minister Wiranto. 2 suspects were later arrested. The former military chief and ex-presidential candidate, 72, suffered 2 deep wounds to his stomach, but is in a stable condition. Police said the attacker had been exposed to IS radicalism, while State Intelligence Agency Chief Budi Gunawan told reporters it was believed the suspects were part of the Jamaah Ansharut Daulah network, which is linked to IS. Born the son of an impoverished teacher, Wiranto graduated from the National Military Academy in 1968 and rose to become head of the armed forces. The Swedish Academy awards the 2018 Nobel Prize in Literature to Olga Tokarczuk for a narrative imagination that with encyclopedic passion represents the crossing of boundaries as a form of life, and the 2019 prize to Peter Handke for an influential work that with linguistic ingenuity has explored the periphery and the specificity of human experience. The 2018 prize is awarded only now because last year it was postponed due to a scandal. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports the number of deaths caused by vaping-associated pulmonary injury has risen to 27, with an additional 1,299 cases of non-fatal injuries. The cause of the outbreak is still unknown, and the only advice health officials can offer so far is to avoid vaping.